Okay, the time is approximately 5:13 p.m., April 3rd, 2024. The special called Farragut Board and Mayor Alderman meeting will now begin. All Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. All board meetings are recorded and can be viewed at a later date. I'd like to first welcome our elected officials, starting with Mayor Jacobs, John Schoonmaker, Courtney Durrett, Larson J., Kim Frazier, Ed Schaus, Mike Arms, and Jimmy Matlock. And I know those three are not current, but they are past elected officials. On our agenda item tonight, if we have any Farragut residents who wish to speak to the board, please fill out a blue card, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. I ask that all speakers please read and abide by the speaker's protocol on the back of the agenda. We'll start with the meeting call to order with a roll call by our town recorder.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Vice Mayor Poplin. Here. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here. Okay, is there any agenda changes?
No, sir.
None? Okay, if none, I'll ask for a motion to approve this agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Okay, motion made and seconded. If in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let the record show the April 3rd, 2024 agenda has been approved as posted. Tonight, we have one business item to review and consider for approval, and I will read this off. Being to consider a statement of objectives and reasons, therefore, regarding Resolution R 2024-02, as required by Tennessee Code annotated 6-58-104B1, and the vote to reject the recommended changes to the existing Knox County Growth Policy Plan that were proposed by the Knox County Growth Policy Coordinating Committee at said committee meeting on January 10th, 2024.
I seek the floor for a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman, we've got a agenda to do here, and I think
it's on the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
I think Tom Hale is going to go on with the second part of my presentation.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman. I seek the floor.
I'm going to refuse that. Alderman White.
Okay.
Any outburst, and I'll have the police officer come and get you and take you out. We're going to have a simple meeting tonight. Tom, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I kind of look out over this crowd,
I seek the floor for a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman White, I think we've discussed that already.
I seek the floor for a point of order on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, before any discussion takes place.
We've not done with the presentation. Let's get the presentation out of the way, and then you can have your point of order. How's that?
Okay.
Thank you.
I was going to say, as I look out on this crowd, I'm reminded of one Easter Sunday when my priest stood up in the altar and he looked around and he said, "You know, we do this every Sunday." You know, we do this 2 times a month. Planning Commission even more. But this is a little bit of an unusual item, not something that we have on our agenda frequently. And I'd like to give a little bit of a context, background for it, so that we all can understand where we are and we be on the same page. The Tennessee General Assembly back in 1998 adopted a law which put every county in this state and every municipality in this state to work for about 2 years coming up with these
Speaker's
plans.
out of order, Mr. Chairman. Seek the floor for point of order.
Alderman White, please refrain.
I've got a point of order on the agenda. everything we're
They can't hear
talking
me?
about now is out of order. If you don't want to hear that, that's fine. You're the chairman. But I want it on the record that you've denied it every time and you won't hear the point of order.
I told you we will hear your point of order when the time,
Everything that's being said now is out of order.
that's your opinion, okay? Please refrain.
As I was saying, the legislature adopted this law that required all the counties to adopt plans. All the counties in the state and the municipalities worked for about 2 years to get that done, and that's exactly what happened. The Knox County plan that was adopted at the time has not been amended since it was adopted in 2001. In accordance with the state statute, TCA 658-104D1, County Mayor Glenn Jacobs sent notice in August of 2023 that he would like to reconvene the coordinating committee, the Growth Policy Coordinating Committee, to consider amendments to the Knox County Growth Plan. The Growth Plan Committee met 4 times to do the work, to consider the amendments that were proposed. And at the January 10, 2024 meeting, recommended approval to the municipalities in the county of the text amendments and a map amendment to the Growth Policy Plan. In order for the Growth Policy Plan amendments to take effect, the County Commission, the Town of Farragut, and the City of Knoxville must approve the proposed amendments that have been recommended by the Growth Policy Coordinating Committee. Knox County has approved the amendments. The City of Knoxville has approved the amendments. Last Thursday, on March the 28th, 2024, this body voted to reject the proposed amendments. The procedures for amending the growth plan are set out in the statute. In section 104D1, the statute requires that the growth plan shall be follow the same procedures in handling amendments as it was in establishing the original plan, all of which I'll get to in just a moment, and it's set out in the statute. The burden of proving the reasonableness and the necessity of the proposed amendments shall be upon the party proposing the change. So if we look back to the procedures in this section for establishing the original plan, what is provided for, I can get it provides that the committee be reconstituted, the coordinating committee be reconstituted. It studied the proposed amendments, and the committee ultimately must make a recommendation. If the recommendations are accepted by the 3 governmental bodies, they become part of the growth policy plan. So what happens in the event one of the bodies rejects the proposed amendments? There are actually 2 considerations in that situation. The statute itself in 104A5 says in material part, if the county or any municipality herein rejects the recommendation of the coordinating committee, then the county and the municipality shall submit its objections, and the reasons therefore for resolution in accordance with subsection B, which is to go back through the coordinating committee to have the coordinating committee consider those objections and possibly making modifications to the plan. There is also a provision in the statute in subsection 6 It says a municipality may make binding agreements with other municipalities and with the counties to refrain from exercising any power or privilege granted to the municipality by this title to any degree combined in the agreement, including but not limited to the authority to annex. Well, in this situation, back in 2001, the county and the town of Farragut reached an agreement about how to handle amendments. And that agreement, it's between just the town of Farragut and the county and the city had their own separate agreement. But this is what the agreement says. To the extent permitted by state law, the town and the county agree to the following process for altering the growth plan within the town's sphere of influence as denominated above, subsequent to the running of the statutory 3-year period prohibiting alterations to the plan, except upon the showing of extraordinary circumstances. Proposed changes in the conditions approved in the plan or changes in the boundary line for a rural area, planned growth area, or urban growth boundary area shall be initiated by resolution by any local legislative body. The proposed change shall be reviewed by the coordinating committee. Also part of the agreement is this language. Once the coordinating committee has made its recommendation on the proposed amendment to the growth plan, the procedure for final approval of the amendment shall be the same as the procedures in TCA 658-104, which are the procedures I was just talking about a few minutes ago. Those procedures for establishing the original plan, except that once the recommendation of the coordinating committee on the amendment is rejected, reconsideration by the coordinating committee contemplated by TCA 658-104A5 and B1 shall not be required, and upon such rejection, either party may declare an impasse and request the Secretary of State to provide an alternate method for resolution of the dispute related to the amendment. I have interpreted the language of that agreement to be that the parties are not required to go back to the coordinating committee, but it does not say that the municipality that objects is not still obligated to state what their objections are and the reasons for those objections. And it also, well, I guess that's the point I would make. It doesn't, it allows for the bodies to call for an impasse. It does not require the committee to reconsider. And the way I view it, we still have, as a municipality, the obligation to set out what our objections are to what was proposed in the amendments and state our reasons for that. And in that way, there's a possibility of a way forward that if we just declare an impasse and go to the Secretary of State, the people on the other side of this transaction don't know what the objections are about, and therefore they don't know whether it could be resolved or not. So that's the way I see tonight's meeting. We're here for the purpose of considering the reasons why certain members of this board decided they could not support the proposed amendments and explain what those reasons are. And who knows? If those reasons are not outrageous, maybe the county might agree to them. Who knows? But that's what we're here about.
Okay.
Do I have
Alderman,
the
are you
floor,
ready for
Mayor?
your point of order?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
this whole agenda item, R 2024-02, is out of order because that resolution's already been voted upon and failed. Cannot be reconsidered by Robert's Rules of Order. It cannot be brought back up except on the same day that it was done. You all are trying to conveniently bring it back up in another method. What the attorney read, he stopped at a critical place in one of the paragraphs when he's talking about if a municipality then rejects the recommendations of the coordinating committee, then the county or the municipality shall submit objections and reasons therefore in a resolution for that subsection. Then it goes on to say, this article provides for resolving disputes arising from disagreements over which urban group boundaries should contain specific territories. Due consideration shall be given to municipalities better able to efficiently and effectively provide urban services to disrupted territories. Due to the considerations of the municipalities' detrimental relied upon property status conferred under prior annexation, that annexation, that part he read, that's what that applies to. When the town, if the municipality rejects it, which we did, and it had to do with boundaries and who actually owned the property and who had annexed it, then yes, that applies. But what applies to us, if any municipality rejects the recommended growth plan, then the coordinating committee shall reconsider its actions. After such reconsideration, the coordinating committee may recommend a revised growth plan and submit such revised growth plan for ratification by the county legislative body and the governing body of each municipality. If a recommended growth plan or revised growth plan is rejected a second time, then the county or the municipality may declare an existence of an impasse and may request the Secretary of State to provide an alternative method. In other words, it's supposed to go back to the committee that recommended it in the first place.
But the problem...
And then they're supposed to discuss everything. If they don't want to revise it, then it comes back to us. And if it goes before another vote, and we don't vote, then it goes to Nashville. But there's an if here. There's already an if. The mayor, county mayor, announced on television the other day that he was bypassing this, sending a letter to the Secretary of State, declaring an impasse, and asking for an arbitration committee. If he's done that, we're done. I'm not saying anything until I sit in front of the arbitration committee. The mayor's already done it. It's already done. Why are we here trying to do this all over again? It's all out of order. Every bit of it.
Are you done with your point?
For now.
No, I think I heard Mr. White say he wasn't going to say anything else. That's what I thought I heard him say.
I may change my mind.
Okay, well, and you're free to do that.
Country boy's objective, change his mind.
But the point is that the town and the county reached an agreement in 2001 to modify the procedure in the event of amendment. In that modification I just read, it says we agree that we won't have to go back and get the recommendation of the coordinating committee if there is a rejection. But again, I don't think that eliminates our obligation as a municipality to follow the portion of the statute that says we are duty bound to tell the other municipalities and the county what our objections are and the reasons for those objections. This is all about enhancing communication between the governmental bodies. It's not about ramming something down somebody's throat. And so all we're trying to do is have a meeting here to find out what the objections are, and let's find out if we can come to some statement of what those are and communicate them and see what flows from there. We're not here to vote on anything particular other than these objections and the reasons for it, if we can reach an agreement on that. I'm here to tell you I doubt we can reach much of an agreement because it's pretty clear that some people have already made up their mind and they're not willing to have the conversation that this statute intends to be had, which is to talk about the merits of these amendments. Anyway, I've said enough.
Since the mayor wanted to repeat some of his, Mr. Mayor, I request the floor again for comments.
No, not yet. We need to follow what we're here for.
Well, that's what I thought he was doing, but he directed some of my comments. I thought I would have the opportunity to address them back.
Have you
It's
write
only
down the
fair.
notes so that you'll have that chance?
I don't need to. I got them
Okay.
right here.
Got it in your head. Okay, good deal. Okay, David, what is our next step here?
We have several speakers that have signed up tonight to
Okay.
speak. If you'd like to go ahead and do that now.
Let's get started with it.
All right, our first speaker is Michael Wilson.
Good evening, Michael Wilson, 412, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, 412 Eisenhower Street, Farragut, Tennessee. Last week, before this vote, I came in and spoke to a couple of paragraphs, 4.2 and 4.3, in the growth plan that I had concerns with. Within those paragraphs, 4.2 basically says, I'm going to capture it here, basically says that any development in the rural living area must comply with the county's land use plan, land use and transportation plan, and that plan then links the zoning districts that are available through Appendix H. There's a table in there, and one of the land uses in the rural land use area provides for 2 to 5 units per acre. That 5 unit per acre maximum is inconsistent with paragraph 4.3 in the growth plan that limits the density to 2 units per acre in the rural area. I have submitted that that language should be changed and it should be made stronger. I provided 3 of the aldermen who objected with some language around that. But essentially, I think the language should say something along the lines that any development in the rural area shall comply, any place type or zoning district in the rural area shall comply with the 2 unit per acre density requirement. My concern here is those 2 paragraphs can be read separately, they can be read together. My concern is a future planning commission or the commissioners at Knox County, somebody brings a 4 unit per acre and they kind of see, well, one paragraph says one thing, the other paragraph says another thing, there's millions of dollars on the line for property tax. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with paragraph 4.2 and allow 4 units per acre, when we're all thinking we need 2 units per acre. The only way this body can ensure that that 2 unit per acre is forced on all 3 municipalities as agreed upon, as Vice Mayor Pavlin negotiated for the folks in Choteau, is to strengthen that language and make sure there's no ambiguity. I will freely admit this is a decision that will happen at Knox County. I don't know which way they will go. I don't know if they will hold to the 2 units. I would hope they would. But when I watch Knox County waive 3 requirements for the TIF on Biddle Farm, maximum dollar amount, maximum payback time, and for a property that was predominantly residential, when I watch the Knox County Commission do that preemptively, I don't have a lot of faith and trust. So that's the first part. The second part, and I only have 17 seconds left, put the requirement for traffic studies back in the rural area. 3.5D got removed. How are we to determine what's going to happen on North Shore Road in the future if we don't have a traffic study that's going to tell us the impacts? Put that language back in so it's held across the ordinance and the plans within the county, the city, and Farragut. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Our next speaker is Mike Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen and Commissioners, Mayor of the county, Glenn Jacobs. I think we all agree that there were good parts of the plan. I think that there is dispute on certain areas. One of the most important areas is the amount of the roads in the planned growth area. If you remember the map, that's all of the yellow. This entire plan came about so roads that could withstand more traffic safely would be allowed more housing density. I believe that's where the problem is. Now, I appreciate very much Vice Mayor Pavlin and at-large Commissioner Kim Frazier helping the people of Choteau, taking some of that out of planned growth and putting it into rural living types. But the problem is when we look at the western part of Hardin Valley, that was not done. Those people deserve the same consideration, as do the people of Carnes and Powell and Corrington and South Knoxville. There are too many roads in the planned growth area that are struggling with the traffic they have. And without significant improvements, they are not safe for children if we expand the amount of traffic. So I'm merely asking the three of you, stay the course. I appreciate your courage. You did the right thing.
Our
Thank
next
you,
speaker
Michael.
is Daniel Sanders.
You, well, Mr. Mayor, members of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, on behalf of my clients who are residents of the town of Farragut, thank you for what you are doing to represent the citizens of the town. I know that many of them have taken notice and believe that you have done a good thing. This is an opportunity for you to improve the plan and get, we think, major concessions for the town of Farragut. A couple of things that have been said tonight, and Mr. Hale and I worked together in the past, but respectively, I don't know that I arrived at the same interpretation of the statute that he does. The provision allowing you to enter into agreements with counties or other municipalities allows you to enter into agreements for refraining from exercising any power or privilege granted to the municipality by this title, which is Title VI, to any degree contained in the agreement, including but not limited to the authority to annex. With respect, the mandatory language in the statute requiring this plan to go back before the coordinating committee is not in my view, is not a power or privilege granted to the municipality. It is a mandatory provision of state law that must be abided by. And that is a mandatory on the coordinating committee, not the municipalities or the counties. In addition, the provisions allowing a municipality or county to declare an impasse are not mandatory. They are permissive. And as we know, mandatory provisions of a statute control over permissive provisions of a statute. And in my view, the mandatory provision would operate before you can declare an impasse. Sending this to a faraway place, Nashville, for a decision to be made about issues close to the hearts of people who live in Farragut and Knox County is not appropriate when, and I will agree with Mr. Hale that we're now trying to reach an agreement. We're trying to improve on a plan. And I will say, approving on the plan that we've got is a very low bar. If you will look at the numbers in the fiscal impact study that was prepared by the Urban 3 organization that is buried in an appendix to the comprehensive plan, it shows that our current pattern of development has left us in a situation where we have $140 million of need in Hardin Valley and only $22 million in the capital budget to take care of it. Hardin Valley is only part of the county. North Shore Drive is just as bad as Hardin Valley Drive. There are issues in East Knox County. There are issues in South Knox County on Chapman Highway. We have developed in such a way that has put negative pressure on our tax base and left us unable to do the things that we need to do as a government. We need to substantially restrict development. We need to come up with a better plan that achieves those policies. Thank you, and like the other speakers say, stay the course. Remain steadfast. You're doing good work here.
Our next speaker is Lawrence Segrest.
Good evening. I spoke last time and I laid out my view on the thing, and I'm not going to rehash those things. They're recorded. You can watch them if you want. I'm here tonight to celebrate three guys, because I can tell you that courage is in very short supply in this day and age. I have two boys, and I don't get many examples. I talked to them at the dinner table about the actions that you guys took. Fighting for citizens and taking the heat, and I know you've taken a ton of crap because I've seen what's happening out in the open. I can't imagine what's happening behind the doors. So I want to congratulate you guys on being courageous. Now, the other thing that I want to say is you standing up for us did not declare war on Knox County. I'm a citizen of Knox County. We didn't declare war on them, but some of the statements the leadership of Knox County have made have declared war on us. Now, we need to sit down at a table and have a conversation, not choose sides and decide who's going to make power plays. So I encourage you guys to stay the course, and let's do this what politicians are supposed to do, sit down and negotiate, and let's do it in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Eric Johnson.
My name is Eric Johnson. I've been a resident here since Farragut's been a town. In fact, I served on the first board of mayor and aldermen, and we actually did the first land use plan. I've read what has been in the paper, and I've tried to look up a little bit what's going on. Land use plans are very difficult. Today, we're growing so fast, and I look at Hardin Valley Road, North Shore, Choteau, and other areas, and Kingston Pike and Farragut, and we're overwhelmed with traffic. But I think we need to work it out with the county and try to figure out how they actually prioritize their road improvements, what needs to be done to help with the traffic situation and potential crowding of schools and other issues. So rather than send this to the state, which is a couple 100 miles away, I would just strongly recommend you sit down with the county and work out the issues. And I don't think there's any huge issues. I think it's just a matter of sitting down with them and trying to resolve them. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mike Arms.
Mayor and Alderman, thank you for this opportunity to speak, and thank you for your public service. I know the pay's not very good. I'm going to make some quick comments from two perspectives. One, as a 25-year citizen of Farragut, the second one as a previous county commissioner who represented Farragut. As a citizen, I'm on president of my HOA board, Park Place. I've heard them complain about the Biddle Farm. What's that going to do to traffic? How do we get to Kroger's? I've reassured them that there's been a great traffic study. We're not going to have problems. And furthermore, it's going to contribute to the economy of Farragut. I've never heard any of my members complain about traffic coming outside of the boundaries of Farragut into the town of Farragut, because they know Farragut lives off of sales taxes. I walked at 11 o'clock on Good Friday the Costco parking lot. No places to park. 1 out of every 4 cars were from outside this county. Hamlin County, Blount County, Roane County. I can promise you this, that Costco would have never come if they thought we're going to try to control growth outside our boundary and prevent them from coming inside our streets. This new Tupelo Honey, I'm sure they wouldn't like the signal that we don't want people coming into our city from other municipalities or other counties. We have 6 power distributorships in the town of Farragut. They're not going to survive on just 25,000 population. Neither will the restaurants. Neither will the new businesses. I think we're about to send a negative signal to businesses that come to our city. Let's look at what is best for the town of Farragut, and that's to continue to grow our economy, control our density within our town, but don't turn a negative look to what's going on outside. I am concerned that there may be some negative thought with the Knox County Commission. I served as a Knox County Commissioner. I'm not speaking for them, but I can tell you this. When I was on commission, the 9th District Commissioner told me all the time, you get school expansions, I get jail expansions. I don't know how many times I was told, Farragut has its cake and eat it too. The Hall Shopper wrote an article that said, let Farragut build its own schools. Let's not forget the relationships we have with Knox County. This building would not be here if Knox County hadn't gone in partnership for the senior center. Biddle Farm would have not happened if Knox County hadn't agreed to a $5 to $7 million TIF. Costco, Knox County pays for the traffic controls at Level Road. I'm asking you to reconsider your negative vote, and let's move forward to maintain this relationship with Knox County and grow our economy in Farragut.
That's all the speakers.
So, okay. Well, I thank everyone who got up and spoke at the last meeting and this meeting. As always, we like to hear what everybody has to say from the town of Farragut. Okay, what we'll do now is we'll do as we've been requested to do, and that's for each of the aldermen.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. You said I could have some time to respond when the speakers were finished to
David, will you let me
Mr.
finish
Hales.
the sentence and then we'll get to it? You keep interrupting me, and that's not the thing to do.
Well, do it right, and I won't interrupt you, brother.
I'm doing it the way that we're supposed to be doing it.
That don't make it
It may not
right.
be your opinion, but that's
Don't
not
make
the
it
way
right.
it's going to go, okay?
Don't make it right.
Okay, like I said, next we're going to start out with what the state has asked us to do. And I believe Mr. Hale said that we would need to, how did you word that?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Develop your objections and the reasons for your objections to the
The
amendments.
objections and the reasons for objections.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
And we will start off with Alderman David White.
That motion is out of order. We're not required to give our objections, says so right in the law. You can't take part of one paragraph, put it in another. Plainly states it's supposed to go back to the committee for reconsideration. If they can't reach a conclusion, it goes to Nashville. The illustrious mayor of Knox County announced on the radio or television he had already sent a letter asking for arbitration. This is over. There is no place in here to give our objections. And I will not be doing so. You're out of order.
Okay, if you're not going to do it, then I'll move on to,
Let me say, I'm the town attorney. I'm the one that's supposed to advise the town about what obligations we have under the law. I've interpreted the statute. I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm wrong today, but I don't think so.
You were wrong today again. You're entitled to your opinion,
I
but
know
it's
that's
wrong.
what you think, Mr. White, but if you would just recognize that everybody has different roles. My role is to be the lawyer. That's what I get paid to do. That's what I've trained to do. That's what I've done for the last 40 years. The statute is pretty clear. It says, if you reject, you're supposed to develop your objections and the reasons for your objections and communicate them back. And whether it goes to the coordinating committee or not, I think that depends on the agreement that we reached with Knox County 20 years ago.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Mr. Hale. If you'll be quiet just a minute, that's where you're wrong.
Well,
Because what you are quoting from is in compliance with zoning and land issues, not with a vote on a motion. It plainly says right there in Article 5 that this applies to disputes over territory, not a vote from the council. Disputes over territory. Who owns the property? Who owns that? That's when what your opinion applies to.
That's your opinion.
Not to vote. It's right
That's your
here in
opinion.
writing.
That's your opinion. That's how you, are you a lawyer?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm not a
And we'll
lawyer.
we'll let the lawyer tell us.
I can't
what we
lie
need to
like
do,
that.
okay?
I still,
And
That is out of order, please.
that's all right.
Please.
Hey, I've been, people say that about lawyers all the time. We have thick skin, we don't worry about it. But we've got to move forward here, and whether or not some detail of this thing doesn't suit Mr. White, I'm sorry, but the spirit and intent of this statute is not to have everybody close their mouths and don't say anything. The spirit of it is to increase discussion. And what I'm hearing Mr. White say is we shouldn't be having this conversation because somehow some T didn't get crossed or some I didn't get dotted. And that's just not it. So I think we are obligated under the statute to at least come up with what our objections are and state the reasons. And that's my advice as your town attorney for the past 25 years.
the reason I'm saying that is the county mayor has said he has already sent a letter to Nashville requesting arbitration.
And he can do that.
Well, he
But
can do that.
That
Then
doesn't
we should
mean we
wait.
don't have a responsibility to do what we're
Then
supposed
we
to
should wait
do.
till arbitration. That's pretty simple, attorney.
Yes, please.
The letter is not
Go
been
ahead.
sent. Len Jacobs.
Go ahead, Mayor, you've got the floor.
The letter has not been sent, sir. It's on my desk.
said it
It's
was.
no, I did not. I said we were declaring an impasse, and I will send a letter. We're waiting for the results of this meeting to send the letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. So you do not want to speak about your reasoning?
Not only do I not want to, I will not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let the record show that Alderman White does not want to speak about his reasoning, okay? And we'll move on to Alderman Drew Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor. It goes without saying that I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into getting this growth policy plan to where it's at. You know, I think it's good to point out that even after the last vote, you know, I've spoken with Mayor Jacobs, and the things that I hear said and the threats, that's not the guy that I talk to. And, you know, that means something. I've lost sleep over this. I've had countless nights trying to figure out where I stand, where my people stand. And you could have imagined a much worse response from the mayor, and it was nothing but kindness, openness to discussion. And so I very, very much appreciate that. I've been elected by the residents of Farragut to look out for and protect Farragut's best interests. So as I look continually at this growth policy plan, I'm looking only in areas that have the potential to affect the town of Farragut positively or negatively. And if I'm being really honest with you right now, given what we're voting on in the entire county, that feels selfish. I'm this small area on the west side of Knox County, and it's not, you know, I'm one vote, but it feels selfish, and I've felt bad about it since the last vote. It's been hard. But as I was sitting this afternoon and thinking, some of our esteemed councilmen that are here tonight, Larson and John, and I won't even put names to it, but just say a councilman in North Knoxville or councilwoman, if they didn't like part of this plan that affected their area, just their area, nowhere else, but in their area that they represented, do I think they would represent their area if they felt it didn't serve their area? I do. And so I think a lot of that selfishness that I've had to work through and feel, part of that's okay. I'm not representing East Knoxville. I care about Knoxville. I care about the whole county. But in my position, I'm elected to care for the interests and the voice of the people in Farragut, not in those other areas. I can still love and support the county, but stand up for Farragut residents for what I think is right and what I think their voice is. I do believe there are good merits in this growth policy plan. I think there's a lot in the policy that is better than the old. And frankly, that's what makes this such a hard decision to me personally. If this plan just was terrible, oh man, it would be so easy. But there are good parts of this plan that help different areas in the county. Where am I at here? We need a growth policy plan that encourages smart development, smart, reasonable plan development in the areas that can safely handle the density that the traffic allows for or would incur. In terms of the Choteau area, this area is at a breaking point in regards to traffic and safety. The current road conditions, the ones that exist today, if you leave here and head down Concord or head down McPhee and go through the train tracks, the current conditions can't support traffic and safety. Currently. The transportation plan listed only minor improvements to the planned area, and that is not to take anything away from Mr. Schoonmaker and what he's gotten for the Choteau area, because any improvement is good, and we appreciate what you've got. And I believe the $2 million allocated this year, that's tremendous. But with only minor improvements in that area, it leaves residents in a tough spot today and for the next 10 to 20 years. So if it can't handle the traffic today, what happens in 5 to 10 years? That's a question I just don't know. Using the handout that we used, I forget the appendix letter, under the area designated as rural on the growth policy plan, there's over 1,000 acres that can be developed at 2 units an acre. That alone it's hard to imagine what that does to an already fragile and broken road. On top of that, it also allows for the possibility of neighborhood commercial. They would only need to meet one of the 3 stipulations, and they could be granted a commercial zone in the rural area. And in the right areas, I think those are really nice in the right areas. I won't speak for the people at Choteau, but the Don Gallo area is great, and we eat at the restaurants out there, and we love it. But again, adding those commercial designations in the rural area, it just drives more and more traffic, it drives more homes and more development in the area. There's also a large piece of property on North Shore that have some parts in rural and some parts in planned growth that I believe, based on the road conditions and traffic safety concerns, should be less dense and more fit for the rural zoning. Putting this area in planned growth puts a lot more cars and traffic on the already unsafe road. Without doing anything major to North Shore Drive to help people get to Westland, North Shore, the interstate, people will continue using Farragut as a cut-through, either by the train underpass, which is right where I live, or right down Concord Road. Another area I'm very concerned about is Hardin Valley. Hardin Valley has exploded over the last 10 years, and with the new plan, there's a massive expansion of the planned growth area directly to the west of town. This planned growth area ends up extending almost all the way to Watt Road. So the question, that I've asked myself is, how will these homes on the far west side of Hardin Valley get to where they want to go, which is inevitably east? Are they going to drive through a super congested Hardin Valley Road with schools and tons of businesses and tons of very large neighborhoods? Or is it a much easier cut through to take Everett Road right into the heart of Farragut, hitting Kingston Pike, which I know a lot of people already do. My son's got friends in Hardin Valley, and that's exactly how they get into the Farragut area. Or do they take Watt Road and come down Watt Road and hit Kingston Pike? Currently, we already have that cut-through traffic from Hardin Valley that takes Campbell Station Road and Everett Road without all the planned growth area. So it's currently happening, but with the new expansion of the planned growth, traffic will continue up Campbell Station Road, increase Everett Road to Kingston Pike, as well as bring it down Watt Road. If this growth plan in Hardin Valley would have been more concentrated on the east towards Pellissippi, the impacts to me would have been minimal to Farragut. With the changes extending west in Hardin Valley to Everett and Watt Road, I do believe it will have a negative impact with cut-through traffic. Another area of concern I have that I talked about at the last meeting was removing the traffic study requirement from section 3.5D. That was in the original document for the rural areas. If you have neighborhood commercial zoning change requests, given the current conditions of the road and the area, I think requiring a traffic study is the smart thing to do. The last thing I'll mention is, I'll leave that out. To conclude, I appreciate the hard work. There is no gotcha from this seat in Farragut. There is no stick it to Knox County. There is no we're looking for a fight. Since I've been here for 5.5 years, a strategic partnership with Knox County is what we've wanted, and there is no ill will. This is simply, for me, standing up for what my people have said very loud and clearly that they want in the areas that it affects Farragut. But I hate some of the negativity that's gone on the past week of what has been projected of us versus you. We are not enemies. I don't want to be enemies. I am simply trying to represent my people as best as possible, and those are the reasons that I have stood against the policy.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Burnett. Next will be Alderman Meyer.
Thank you. I have a prepared statement I'll read. Various Farragut and Knox County residents have urged me to vote against the growth plan amendments. I believe the great opposition is rooted in frustration with Farragut traffic that comes with rapid property development. I understand this frustration because I too regularly sit in traffic for unacceptable amounts of time. I believe we all can agree that high-impact traffic comes from high-density development because we live it every day. I also understand that property owners have the constitutional right to develop their land according to existing zoning and precedent. It's a characteristic that distinguishes the United States from countries like China and Cuba. In particular, as farmers in rural areas pass their land to their descendants, the descendants have the right to develop the land, which is a fact we must accept. Our goal should not be to deny property owners their constitutional rights to develop their property because they will. Rather, our goal should be to control development in order to mitigate the traffic impact as much as possible. The proposed growth plan amendments reduce traffic impact in rural areas by the following changes. Number one, reducing the number of units per acre from 3 units to 2 units. And number two, by eliminating light industrial use. Further, because rural areas border Farragut, these changes allow for a Farragut traffic impact that is lower than currently allowed by the existing growth plan. I commend Vice Mayor Pavlin for advocating for these changes, as these changes will help preserve rural character and mitigate Farragut traffic impact as these properties developed. As I mentioned in last week's meeting, my concern with the growth plan amendments is that they do not address density in the growth areas that border Farragut. In both the planned growth area and the urban growth boundary, developers could develop a range of densities, including apartments or commercial properties, which have the highest traffic impact on already congested Farragut roads. During a cordial and productive meeting yesterday, Knox County Mayor Jacobs and staff confirmed their commitment to me to keep density in these growth areas as low as possible, which in turn will lead to the least impact on Farragut traffic as possible. This commitment to lower density and ongoing collaboration have alleviated my concerns for the growth plan amendments. Knox County residents should be rest assured that when leaders that disagree, like us, we do eventually get past the rhetoric, eventually, listen to each other, and come up with solutions that work. It's an attribute that makes me serving Farragut constituents worthwhile. As I previously mentioned, since our last meeting, I've met with Knox County officials and staff, as well as thought through whether, in my opinion, their growth policy plan amendments are in the best interest of the town. I've decided after much consideration to change my vote. In order to do that, I understand that a motion to rescind must be made. I would request that at the April 11th Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting, we place on the agenda a motion both to rescind the March 28th Board of Mayor and Aldermen vote, denying Resolution R-2024-02, and to renew or reconsider the motion made to approve Resolution R-2024-02, which would amend the Knox County Growth Policy Plan as recommended by the Growth Policy Plan Committee on January 10th, 2024.
This is a motion, if so.
It cannot be a motion,
It is a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman. It's out of order. Out of order, Mr. Chairman.
That's your
Simple.
opinion again, Mr. White.
It's out of order. For Christ's sakes, follow the rules. A motion like that cannot be recalled unless it's on the first same day.
You've read it wrong.
Wrong?
Yep. I'd second it, yeah.
Well,
So that's an amended motion from the original motion.
if you think
Yes,
it's wrong, here you go, read it.
I've read it.
Read it again.
is
You
the
didn't
motion-
understand it.
Yes, I understood it.
No, if I understand the motion, and I'm not even sure it requires a motion, if you're just putting it back on the agenda for the next meeting, you don't have to have a vote on that, but you can. You're just putting it on the agenda. It's going to be discussed all over again, I suppose, if you're going to put it on the agenda for a rescission and/or a renewal of the other motion.
Let me tell you something.
So
Y'all can listen to your.
the point
You
is,
can listen to the friggin' attorney. I have it.
No, you don't.
Take
Sit
it.
down.
No. I will not stay in here and listen to the law be violated 20 times, and you suckers all agree with it.
You can be excused.
Goodbye.
I've warned you once, twice, third time.
that's right.
I'm having a police officer. You need, Wendy, you need to go. You need to go out. I'm asking you. Officer?
Mr. Meyer,
Yes, sir.
can you read the last part of what you're asking be put on the next agenda?
I request that at the April 11th Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting, we place on the agenda a motion both to rescind the March 28th Board of Mayor and Aldermen vote, denying Resolution R-24-02, and to renew or reconsider the motion made to approve Resolution R-2024-02, which would amend the Knox County Growth Policy Plan as recommended by the Growth Policy Plan Committee on January 10th, 2024.
And I
Is that what you're
second that.
asking?
That's fine. We're just, all we're doing is saying what we're going to put on the agenda next time.
Yes.
And that way, everybody can come back next time and talk about it again.
Okay. In that case, I'll ask Town Recorder for roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Put it on the agenda. Do you have a question about the motion?
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White is absent. Vice Mayor Poblin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Pass.
Okay, what was your answer?
Passed.
She passed.
Pass, okay. Okay, let the record show that the vote to place it on the next agenda has passed, and the motion for the vote has passed, and it will be on the next agenda, and it would be a 3-2.
3, 4.
It was a majority pass, Mayor.
One pass, 3 and 1 pass, and 1 no vote.
No vote. No, there was no vote.
No,
There was no
he wasn't here.
As absent.
Okay. You have anything else to say, Attorney? You have anything else?
No, I don't, I mean, if I understand what is being said, Mr. Meyer is going to change his vote. Well, we don't need to sit here and come up with reasons and objections if he's going to change his vote, and if that's what I understand he says he's going to do, then I guess if he doesn't, if he changes his mind between now and next meeting, we can have another meeting and come up with our objections then.
Okay, then, the time is approximately 6:15 p.m. Without objection, April 3rd, 2024, Farragut Board Mayor